Hello and welcome to the Virtual Flower Show 2021. My name's Martin Fish, and joining me today for the question and answer session, we've got some top exhibitors from around the UK. Probably see at all the flower shows with their wonderful exhibits. So in no particular order, we've got Rosy Hardy from Hardy's Cottage Garden Plants. We've got Matt Soper, Hampshire Carnivorous Plants, Vicky Fox from Plantagogo, Lynne Dibley from Dibleys, Houseplant Specialist, Mark Macdonald from Todds Botanics, and Mark Lyman from the Delphinium Society. So that's our panel for today. We've had lots of questions sent in, so we're going to do our very best to answer them all for you. So the first one comes from Kay, and it's about bamboo. So I think this one might be for you, Mark. Kay, she loves bamboo, but how does she stop her neighbour's huge plants growing up through her garden? I'm sure this is a problem lots of people get. So how do you control vigorous bamboo?
Well, a physical barrier is the only answer, really. There are materials you can buy, a bamboo root barrier, that are about 0.5 metre in depth and a millimetre or 2 millimetres wide, like a plastic sheet, but very thick. And you can dig a trench and put that in to protect where you don't want the bamboo to grow. Really, it's better if it encircles the whole plant than just growing along a boundary, because eventually it will go around the boundary. And it's to stop the rhizomes of the bamboo growing. So you want it to go in the ground to a depth of about 45 centimeters and have about 5 centimeters protruding. So any that run along the top, you can cut off. But hopefully they've not planted too invasive a species. But a physical barrier is the only way.
So if it's coming in from the neighbour's garden, presumably she can't obviously go in the neighbour's garden, dig a trench around their bamboo. So it's going to have to be just on the inside of her boundary and just dig a trench and put it in vertically. That's the only way it will work, isn't it?
Unless she's a nighttime gardener, yeah, that's the only way.
Okay, Kate, good luck with that. Anybody else had any experience of bamboo they would like to? I think we're all keeping away from vigorous bamboo, aren't we? Okay, that's great. We've got one here. This is from Mark. And Mark says, can you give me a few ideas for tall growing plants that will be happy in pots? Then the pots are about 1 foot square and similar depth. Flowering would be good, but he doesn't mind if they are evergreens. So I think probably we can get lots of suggestions here from lots of people. So we've got some pots that we can have a go at filling. So any ideas? Who wants to start? Vicky, go on, you have a go then. So we've got these.
What about a Photinia red robin? They're nice. They're lovely in pots. You can grow them well in pots. Nice red foliage, shiny and look good. You can trim them if you get too big.
Yeah, and it's going to be there all year round, isn't it, as well? I mean, they're only 1 foot square, so that's going to limit the size of the growth of it slightly, isn't it? But
trim it though, can't you?
Yeah, you can trim it and it will almost bonsai it at the same time. I should also just add to people, we're now joined by Alec White as well. Alec's joined us from Primrose Hall Peonies, so thanks for popping in, Alec. So any other ideas? What about Rosy, flowering, herbaceous? Could we put some herbaceous in there?
Yeah, there are quite a lot of the later season herbaceous which are tall, which would certainly be fine in containers. Any of the rudbeckias, any of the late season Symphyotrichons or Michaelmas daisies will be fine in a container. You can put lupins, you can put delphiniums in a container if you want to, but you've got to remember, you've got to keep your feed correct, you've got to keep them watered correctly. The biggest problem in pots is that people overwater and you end up drowning the plants. So you've got to be really sure that you've got adequate drainage there and that you're making sure that you don't overwater them, and making sure that you're not necessarily got the pots in full sun. Another thing that can be, a small container like that in full sun can get very, very hot in the root zone. So they need to be aware that the container itself is probably better shady, and then the plants can be in the sun.
Okay. Anybody else got any suggestions for growing something? I think we want something hardy, probably, that's going to be able to stand out all year round in this 12-inch container.
I was going to say, if it's just seasonal, just for the summer, you could probably put some nice shrub begonias, which tend to grow to about 2 to 3 feet in a season. And if they're in part shade, you would still get flowers in them from them sort of later on in the summer as well.
Yeah, that would look good, wouldn't it? Absolutely. I mean, I've got some pots with camellias in them, and they're looking wonderful at the minute, although I must admit the frost over the last week has damaged them a little bit, or the flowers. But my worry is for a camellia, I'm not sure that a foot square is going to be big enough. You get it in there for a couple of years, but then it's going to be too small. So it would be good if you could get some pots slightly bigger, then it's sky's the limit, of course. You can put a little arrangements of plants, but hopefully that's giving you a bit of an idea of what you can do. So thank you. This one is from Elspeth, and it's about tomatoes, growing tomatoes. She wants to know what can be used to replace the now banned chestnut compound to control damping off on seedlings and mainly tomatoes that she's growing. So chestnut compound was a copper-based fungicide that you would drench onto any types of seedlings, and it would stop damping off, which is when they just get a fungal disease and collapse, often if they get a bit damp or over warm. So that's gone. So do any of you know of anything else that we can treat not only tomato seedlings, but other seedlings with as a preventative fungicide to stop them rotting off?
I wonder if you could try SB Plant Invigorator. That has some antifungal effect on it from it, but also getting the conditions right as well. More air movement, less humidity, any of those would help as well.
Yeah. Definitely on the cultural side, I find that by using, say, a vermiculite to cover the seeds and watering by standing the pot in a tray of water rather than spreading water around the top.
Right, so yeah, you're not getting that very wet conditions on the top, which is one of the major causes, isn't it? If seedlings get a bit wet, then they quickly damp off. So I mean, there isn't. I mean, I agree with Lynne that you know, something like SB Plant Invigorator, because there isn't another chemical, Elspeth, that has replaced it. It was copper based, and copper fungicides have all been banned. I'm not sure whether it was a ban because they were dangerous or whether they were just sort of discontinued, to be fair, but there isn't a fungicide available to amateur gardeners for that use. So I think it is just getting, as our experts have said, the right cultural conditions. Don't get them over wet, don't get them too hot, because they can get very lush and soft then, and just keep your eye on them really, and don't sow too thickly. That's often a problem. People sow really thickly and then they're so tight together, just thin, nice and so thinly, so they've got room between them. So good luck with that, and there's still plenty of time, of course, to sow tomatoes if you haven't got your seeds in at the moment. So moving down the list, we've got a question from Pauline Burns, and this one is about Mahonia charity, which lovely evergreen shrub. It's flowered. They flowered a couple of months ago, those lovely yellow flowers. She's got a well-established plant that's over 6 feet tall. It flowers well, but on the underside of the leaves she's got a black mold, and it's now dropping lots of the leaves. So she wants to know firstly what it is and how she can treat it. So anybody, any ideas what this black mold on the leaves of her Mahonia is caused by, and what we can do to remedy it? Anybody want to shout out? Don't make me.
It could be sooty fungus, Martin, which can be caused by some aphids, and that can be wiped off. And again, they need good ventilation for that, but without seeing it, I'm not really sure, but it could be that.
It sounds very much like that, Matt. The only thing slightly threw me with it is you normally get it on the top of the leaf, don't you? Because it's, as you said, it's the aphids that are sucking the sap out, and the honeydew drops onto the leaf, and you get this sooty mold. So that is but I think that's what it is. It's just unusual. It
could be scale mite though that are causing, because they're on the underside of the leaf, and then that would be quite difficult to actually see. And also what will happen is if she's got ants, they will be going and harvesting and, you know, getting all of the dew out of the actual mites. So that then drops down. And of course, if you've got that underneath, it's not where the airflow is best. Yeah, wiping off and then having a good look to see if there's any insect life there. I think that's the best way.
Yeah, and I think Elspeth, there's a scale, as Rosy said, is a sap-sucking insect. And there's a lot of it about. You get it on aces and all sorts of trees, and you'll know if you've got them because they look like tiny little brown, almost like limpets on the underside of the leaf or even on the bark. So have a look. So wiping it off is one way. Anything else we can? Any insect? What we need to do is get rid of the scale, don't we? I suppose get rid of the scale, then you don't get the honeydew. So any insecticides we think we could use? I don't know how.
SB is quite good, Martin. You can use SB for that as well. It's another good one. But it's very early in the year to have anything like that, to be honest with you. It's still very cold here and we haven't got any green flies. So I'm a bit wondering where it did come from. It might be left over from last year, but it's very early.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing you can do, Pauline, Mahonia Charity responds really well to being pruned. So if it's quite big, now is the perfect time to do it. You can always do it after flowering and just before they're starting to grow. To give it a really good hard prune now, that gets rid of the initial problem, the footy mold, and it gets rid of the scale on there. And then just keep your eye on the new growth and probably, as Matt said, spray it and keep your eye on it. There are organic insecticides that I think work quite well on scale. The ones based on fatty acids, it seems to just burn the outer coating. So we think we know what it is. So good luck with that. It won't kill it. It's as tough as old boots, isn't it, Mahonia? Right, Aileen Brown, shade-loving plants. Which plants or shrubs will thrive in a container placed in a very shady area against a house wall? So I'm assuming it gets little or no sun, so probably north facing. So to brighten it up with plants in containers, any ideas of what we can be planting out there? So we want some nice colour things to be there and look really good. Vicky, what about you?
Yeah, well, obviously, Tiarella. Sorry?
I don't mean you.
Yeah. Well, the Tiarella, Hooper and Tiarella just love the shade, most of them. There's an odd one that prefer a bit of sun, but you've got like a vast range of colour. They're all evergreen. You get flowers on them. They're easy. If you get tatty leaves on, you just tidy them up and, you've got something there all the time. As you can see behind me, there's lots of colours there. The one with the green leaf, that's a Tiarella, and they get beautiful, pretty white starry flowers on stems. They look like little sort of, little foamy flowers. And then you get the larger flowers of the hooperas, and some of them have got smaller flowers. Lime greens, go for those especially. They'll give it a bit of a punch in the shade. Look great. And of course, you can mix them with other perennials as well. You can do anything like that with them. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. They're going to be there all year round. I mean, it hasn't said on the question they've got to be hardy, so I think we could put some hardy plants in there and some seasonal ones to ring the changes as well. So this is maybe one where we could put some tender plants out there as long as they'll stand the shade. So anything you could think of, Mark? I mean, you're into your exotics and tender plants. Anything in your range that would grow in shade?
Well, a tree fern's the obvious answer, but it would stay there all year round. It depends how big the space is, but a tree fern would do the job nicely.
Okay, that's a good suggestion.
I like a combination of Corydalus flexuosa and hostas in a pot together, because you get that beautiful blue flower to start off with, and they love the shade. And then as the leaf comes out, you can have so many different types of hosta, which will just look really good in a container together. But there are loads and loads of shade-loving herbaceous that you can put in a container, epimediums, there are anemones, all sorts of things. And as Vicky said, you don't just need to have one. It depends on the size of the container, obviously, but if it's only room for one plant, then you get something that has leaf and flower, such as Vicky said with the heucheras and tiarellas. Or you do a combination whereby something that is summer deciduous comes up first, and then something that's there for the rest of the year is there as well. So it's quite a good combination.
Yeah, I think a combination and a mixture there of flowering and foliage and seasonal will work really well, and you'll make a lovely display. Anybody else that want to add any of their favourite plants into that combination? The only thing I would probably add in is ferns. I love ferns, and there were some really, really good ferns, especially the evergreen ones, which will then give you cover over the winter. So I think you're not going to struggle, to be fair. I think there's so many plants that will grow in that situation. You'll be able to make it absolutely lovely. And don't just think of pots on the floor. You can have hanging pots on the wall or mangers, so that you're going to cover the wall and almost make a living wall. So I think we need to see a picture of that when it's done, Aileen. Right, lovely. Angela Crick has sent in a question about an Acer tree. It's an Acer Crimson Queen, which I'm assuming has got red leaves. She's had it 10 years and it's been in the ground for 3 years. So it's 10-year-old, been in the ground for 3 years, about 5 feet tall and 4 feet wide. So it sounds like it's a really lovely specimen. Last spring, in a late frost, a 6-inch tear appeared on the main trunk, and this year it's got no sort of infection in there. It's just a tear on the trunk. But this year, and I can't read the question, it's dropped off my page, but from memory, no leaves have developed above the tear, only below the tear. But it's quite a substantial chunk of tree that is now not in leaf above the tear. So the question is basically, can that be cut off down to where the new growth is? And will cutting that off harm the tree long term? So anybody got any experience of growing acers and cutting out what is essentially now, I suspect, a piece of dead wood above this tear in the bark?
It is possible to prune them, absolutely. What you've got to do is very, very carefully, though, and make sure that you end up with a shape that is actually good, because if it's gone and lost its crown, it's got to produce more. And you may have to tip back what is actually growing below so that you stimulate it to put on more branches. So it is something that needs to be done carefully.
But before she prunes it, if she just carefully uses a thumbnail and just takes some of the bark off above the tear, just to see if there's any green layer inside the cambium layer, to see if it has died back. But I suspect it sounds like it's the top half died off. But Rosy's right, it'll probably need to be cut off further down than the tear, otherwise it'll just keep going. Okay,
so go back into living wood, essentially, to a side shoot or something, and to promote more growth, what would be a good idea to get it to because we obviously now needs to make up for that growth, so to give a flush of growth, what could we do to it?
I suspect it would naturally put on some extra growth. It's got a root system of a mature plant size, so I suspect it would naturally do it. But obviously, some extra feeding would help.
Okay. Yeah.
The other thing I would say is if you're taking a large piece out of the middle, don't do that cut as a flat cut. Make sure that it's angled so that water runs off it, because that's very important. If it stays flat, you're going to get a little bit of rot in there. I'm not sure if you get the paint that you can put onto wood once you've done it, but they need to be, it would definitely need to be angled so that you don't get water sitting on top of that cut.
Yeah, I think you can still get Arbrex, the wound paint that you put on, which might be worth doing it. Or I think there's another one called Meadow, which is like a grey, sticky clay substance, which it just seals it and stops any sort of diseases getting in there. So good luck with that, Angela. I hope that sorts it. It'll certainly look better cutting the dead off anyway. It'll instantly make the tree look so much better. So now this one is a question for Matt, and I think, is it from you, Mark?
It is, yeah.
Yes. So Mark, you've got a question for Matt here.
I have.
Bringing it along for how this work virtually, and there it is.
Yeah, here it is. I hope it works. It's quite a big plant. It's in about a 5-inch pot probably. All these trumpets from last year, or whatever the correct term is, Matt, do I cut them off just bit at a time as it dies back, or do I just go down at the base and take them out?
Yeah, if you look into, it's very tempting to cut the whole lot back.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I used to do that in the past.
Yeah.
And I find the plants get smaller and smaller each year.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing, you're depriving the plant of any insect material they caught the year before, which they benefit from. Exactly.
Absolutely full of dead things.
So that's their food for this season. So what you want to do, Mark, is just cut back the brown bits and just leave anything that's green on the plant. And you'll get really nice big tall pitchers this season. don't be tempted to cut the whole lot off, which you can do, but as I said, you will find the plants get smaller each year. So leave anything that's green on the plant and just remove anything that's brown.
All right, and they can go outside now. They've been in a cold greenhouse all winter.
They can be outside all year round, that one, no problem at all. We've got them out in the garden now. They're much slower coming up, obviously, but the ones under glass, we've got to start to put new growth on. Have you got new growth coming from the base of them yet?
Yeah, there are some small ones that are only about this tall.
Right, okay. So cut off all the brown bits and let the new growth will come through for this season.
Super, thank you.
Matt, for the benefit of those of us that don't know what it is, tell us what it is.
So that's it looks like a Sarracenia hybrid. I can't see what species it is, but it looks like, is it a hybrid, Mark? Has it got a label with it?
Oh, don't be silly, I don't do labels. Hang on, it's broken.
Because you know one or two things about these plants, don't you, Matt? You know, you've a bit.
Yeah, you know a bit about it. We've done a 4-year trial with them with the RHS. They are hardy. I know they look very exotic, but in the trial we had all species and hybrids outside. Everything survived. They went down to the lowest temperature of -7, but some do thrive better than others outside. But if you are going to put them outside, Mark, a really nice, bright, sunny position, and they'll come up nice and strong. Then if they're in the shade, they get very drawn and leggy and they flop over. So they want intense sunlight, very cold winters, and very wet with rainwater all the time.
All right, the label says it's a Sarracenia X Minia something, and then there's a bit of label missing. Okay, Q holotype it says on the label.
Yeah, it's an Alata cross with Leucophylla. It's been, sorry, Alata cross with minor, Sarracenia minor, Minata.
While we're asking you questions, Matt, if somebody has cut it back because they're impatient, all the way, is there a artificial plant feed they could use? No,
don't worry. Mark, if you've done that, Mark, don't worry. Just leave it now.
I'm just saying for a friend in case.
Yeah,
you know.
I understand. Yeah. No, it's not the end of the world. But the reason for best results, that's a good tip, is to chase the green down. Because in the past, I was getting the Sarracenia flowers about 2 foot tall. You've probably seen it now. We get them over a metre. And the thing that made the biggest difference with that was by just trimming the brown bits off. So just keep as much food or energy for the plant in there as possible, and you'll get much bigger, taller traps. So that's a good tip. But Mark, if they have been cut back down, there's nothing you can do about it now. If you give it feed, they get lazy. They don't produce traps to catch flies, and they stay very green and anemic, and they don't look very good at all. So, but treat them hard. Don't give them any feed. Yeah.
Thanks. I'll let my friend know that.
Yeah, do that.
Well, while we're asking questions about Sarracenia, Mark, I've got one, Matt. So I've got one in a pot, similar sort of size to Mark's. And it's doing fine. It's always had rainwater from rainbuts because they like soft water. Is that?
Yep, they do. Yeah.
We have recently moved house, and where we are at the minute, there aren't any rainbuts installed. So temporarily, will it do any harm if it's watered with tap water? It is quite soft, the water out of our tap.
Yeah, to be fair, up there you've got fairly soft water, and Sarracenia you can get away with it. The one plant that you can't is the Venus flytrap, which is the one most people have trouble with. Sarracenia will tolerate soft tap water, but don't get in too much of a habit, Martin. When rainwater is available, use rainwater, and if they do look like they're getting a white deposit around the edge of the pot, which is normally salts that are left from using large amounts of tap water, repot it into fresh compost next spring, and away you go with your rainwater.
Right, okay, that's good. Right, there you go. I've got a full Sarracenia masterclass there. So for our RHS gold medal winner with his wonderful display. So thank you for that. And thank you for showing us a plant there, Mark. That's great. Right, we've got a question here from Helen on Delphinium. So I think it might be coming back to you as well, Mark. Helen has tried several times with Delphiniums and they just don't come back the following year. Please help. So they're obviously being planted in the garden, probably flowering year one, dying down in the winter, and then nothing. So what's the likely cause of that?
Well, the good news is it's almost certainly not Helen's fault. Delphs were bred, predominantly the ones that you can buy in the garden centres widely available are Pacific Giants, and they were bred in the States as an annual. So start off with some plants that have been bred for a kind of a European type climate. Ideally in the UK, if you can afford them, the named plants you can get from the big nurseries like Blackmore and Langdon or Home Farm Plants or wherever. And they do reliably come back year after year. And I'll have to say it, I think they're also slightly slug resistant. So if I look around my garden now, there's about 50 coming up, and I can't see any slug damage, and I haven't used any pellets. So seek out some good quality seed from the Delphinium Society or from any of the suppliers, or buy some name plants in.
Any sort of named ones that you could recommend that are reliable, that might be available in nurseries without having to do a lot of searching?
Yeah, some of the seed strains that are called Centurion, blue, white, lavender, whatever, those have been one of the top Delphinium Society breeders actually raised those. They're now in from Holland. You can buy those reasonably easy. Some of the other seed strains you can easily get called like the New Zealand hybrids. Those are very good as well and reliable. It's just best to avoid the Pacific giants, really. They're just renowned for not being perennial.
That's interesting, because that's the name that springs to mind as well, doesn't it? You know, with lots of people been in the category for years, there's the Pacific Highlands. So yes.
So in fact, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, there's a Facebook Live, and we're going to talk about all things of growing delphiniums from seed. So if Helen's got half an hour to spare, that would be a good use of time.
There you go. Okay, Helen, good luck with it. So get some named varieties, get them planted, get them established, and hopefully, fingers crossed, next year they'll be back. And they get better and better every year, of course, don't they? Right, we've got a question here from Paul on veg. Lots of folks are into growing veg at the moment. So it's quite a vague question, this. Lots of straight bits to it. He wants to know how to raise plants. He's put no dig, which I love, building a hot heap to keep plants growing, snug on the frosty nights, and how the panelists cope with all the late frosts. So really, I suppose, just any tips any of you have got on growing veg. I know none of you are veg growers as an exhibitor, but I bet you all grow a little bit of veg. Everybody grows a bit of veg. So any tips on getting started with veg, what to plant, and just to give a bit of inspiration to Paul? And if any of you do the no dig or hotbeds, anything that you might be able to mention?
First thing I would say is don't be ever so keen to get your veg seeds in too early. I think a lot of people make that mistake. The other thing is they also make the mistake of sowing far too thickly. So they need to make sure that they're sowing much thinner on various things. I have grown veg for years and years and years, and last year, because we weren't going out to shows, I started growing veg again, and I grow all of mine in containers or troughs, both 2-litre pots and troughs, and it works really, really well. And you can do little sowings, which is great, which means that you, especially with things like again, lettuce leaves, for instance, you can do a little drill across your trough, not all the way down, and you do one week, and you do one the next week, and one the next week, and it's amazing how you then get a continuity. So that you've probably, I do 5, which gives me just about the worth of leaves, and then the next time it's through, and you can keep yourself in salad very, very easily that way with a small amount of space. So I think that's the thing to do, and choose varieties of vegetables that you know you're going to succeed with. That's also something that you need to work on, because not many people have got enough space, and you do find people overdo it and put in too much. Try and just do a little bit less, and you probably will be more successful.
Good tip there, Rosy. Good tip. Anybody else doing a bit of veg growing at the moment?
Yeah, Martin, I would say whether it's veg or any plants from seed, I couldn't recommend hardly just a small heated propagator, especially this year where it's just been so cold. I'm sure everyone's found that. It will bring your seedlings on much even germination. They come on at a better rate. You can sow them thinly, as Rosy suggested. You don't get so much damping off, and it can really be encouraging if you're new to gardening. Just a little one the size of a seed tray, and pop your seedlings in there. They really do help a lot, just a heat propagator.
Yeah, and you don't need a greenhouse. You can just pop them on the windowsill and start your seedlings off. So yeah, that is a good tip as well, Matt. Anybody else do a bit of veg growing?
I built a hot heap in the winter, January time. So it's about 2 feet by 3 feet, 3 feet deep. Filled it full of fresh manure, put a bit of polythene over the top, and stand everything on top of that. And even when we've been having all these horrid frosts lately, I put fleece over it just as it gets dark, and it gives me about 10-degree lift in temperature underneath. So underneath is like 10 or 11, and even in the greenhouse can be a slight frost. So if you've got the space and the time to do it, really recommend it.
It's a good idea. I mean, it's not new, is it? Because the Victorians
Old
did
school, yeah.
all the time and had these hotbeds, and they would stand, a cold frame for it, and then you've got essentially a heated cold frame, and then at the end of the season, all that you can plant into it and grow. So it's a good idea if you can get the manure. I've tried it as well, not this year, but in the past, just as an experiment, with the last of any leaves when you're clearing out the borders. You rake out all the old leaves from the trees and shrubs, and then the first couple of cuts of the lawn, and get that fresh green lush grass, mix it together. And as you probably know, if you put your hand into a pile of grass after a few hours, it gets quite warm. So if you get, as Mark says, a couple of feet of that, mix it and water it, that will get quite warm as well. It gets a bit smelly eventually. But yeah, anybody else, any tips? Vicky, were you?
I was going to say, sorry, Martin, but what we've done through the winter is we've got a few chickens, and we've just let them go through the vegetable patch in the winter time. So they've cleared out slugs and larvae of different insects and, invertebrate all over, so the beds are nice, hopefully nice and clean now of pests to start the season.
That's good, yeah, and they've raked it and scratched it and done a bit of weeding for you as well. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Vicky, I think you were going to say something in between hoovering.
In between hoovering, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I was actually just going to agree with Rosy, because we were showing one of the pictures last year of our veg, weren't we, Rosy? And we were having a bit of a sort of, oh, this is what I picked, and we grew all ours in containers as well. And actually, to start with, we thought we were going to be producing loads of vegetables because we've got loads of time and handing it to the family. But then in the end, we didn't have as much time as we thought. So I was glad that we didn't grow masses, otherwise I wouldn't have had time to distribute it. But the one thing I did grow too many of, and it's really easy to do it, is courgettes. You don't need a lot of courgettes. I mean, I think I grew 5, and I just had so many courgettes, didn't really know what to do with them all. They were very nice, and it's much better growing your own environment, and you get so much more satisfaction. I'm sure everybody will agree who's done it. It's just such good fun. Yeah, that was it.
What you need, Vicky, is if you've got a glut of courgettes in our book, Jill, we've got a sticky on there. There's some wonderful courgette recipes in our book.
Look. I did look. I have your book.
Yeah, do you use it as a doorstop? Any more before we move on to a question? You've been very quiet, Alec. I know you grow some fantastic peonies, but do you grow veg as well?
No. My garden is very, very tiny. Right. It's about 5 meters by 5 meters. I've got three small children and a dog. It's everything I can do to keep the peonies alive in the garden. Right, in fact, we're taking up the grass and paving the whole thing this week. So, no, unfortunately, no time. We do have strawberries, though, in a hanging basket by the back door. The boys enjoy that.
That's easy to grow, and the good thing about strawberries is you plant them and get results the same year. It's not like planting an apple tree where you've got to wait several years to get the fruit. So I think that's a really good way to get children involved. Mark,
they're really impatient. They like to see a result straight away. So
well, and they do, don't they? Within a few months you can be picking lovely strawberries. Mark, you're the only one that hasn't commented on anything edible.
Well, I'm very lucky. I use my father-in-law for all my edible veg. He does all the growing on the allotment, and we have a space at the nursery. So we've just this week put all the seed potatoes in, a little bit late, but it's been so cold we didn't want to put them in. And we had a nice package from Brighter Blooms, who's another RHS and shows exhibitor, who's got a huge range of seeds and seed potatoes still available. So yeah, our excess courgettes go to the chickens.
Oh, right.
If you've got a glut of courgettes, get chickens.
Exactly. So soon eat them, won't they? They'll get rid of them.
Or get Martin's book and cook things.
Yes, it's
definitely chickens are a big bonus in the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hadn't mentioned the book in a while, Martin. Just have you got a book out?
I've got a book Gardening on the Menu, and it's available on Amazon or from our website, martinfish.com. We've just had a reprint, so yeah, we've got a garage full.
It's really good. It's really good. All the recipes in there are gorgeous. I can recommend them. And I haven't got any shares in it.
No, Becky's in the post as we speak. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, it is good. I love growing veg, and we've moved within the last couple of weeks. We're looking for a new garden, a new project. So we're renting a house in the village we live at the minute with a tiny little garden, but fantastic views out towards the Yorkshire Dales, which is nice. But fortunately, I've got use of a friend's garden in the village, which is well, he's got an acre, but I'm using about an allotment size to grow veg. So that's what I'm going to be doing later today, is going down and planting the potatoes a bit later. But as Mark says, it's been very cold, so there's still plenty of time. So I think my tip would be, if anybody's thinking of having a go at growing veg this year, and they think, oh, here we are now, almost the third week in April, it's too late. It is not too late. It's only the time to start. Very often people that start too early fail with things. And, you know, I think if you sow through May and June, you get some fantastic results because the ground is warmer and plants naturally want to grow faster. So yeah, have a go, even on a very small scale. It's worth doing. Right, we've got a question on peonies here. I think we need Alec to say something. He's been very...
I'm going to wake up now. Yep.
Wake up, Alec. So this one is a question from Evan Herden. I currently have 2 peonies planted in my garden, and only one has leaves. The other has small red shoots, and I'm worried I've done something terribly wrong. So is that normal for this time of the year, just to be having small shoots?
Well, it kind of depends on where you are in the country. And you were just saying how cold it's been. And I have a couple of plants with me here. It does depend on the variety, but this one here is Coral Sunset, and you can see it's got quite a bit of growth on it. See how I came prepared. And this one here is Sarah Bernhardt, but you can see not so much growth. Some varieties get going a little bit earlier than others. Peonies do flower from April through till the end of June, really. So some of the earlier varieties will be shooting earlier. This one here, for example, is Tenuifolia rubriplana, and you can see it's got flower on it already, which is gorgeously scented. So it does depend on the variety. So I wouldn't worry too much if your peony has only got, you know, little shoots at the moment. It will catch up. It's probably just slightly later to flower.
Okay, so the fact that it's got shoots on there is good. And how does the frost affect them? Because we've had some pretty hard frosts all over the country over the last week or two. You know, really, you know, every morning it's been white over where we are, and magnolias and new shoots on shrubs and plants have all been singed. What about peonies? Does it affect them too much?
Not really. They're pretty tough, down to about -20. The only ones where you might get a problem right now is with the tree peonies, and I have a tree peony here, which has got a couple of nice big fat buds forming on them, and sometimes they can be damaged by the frost if you're not too careful. But at the moment, I haven't had any problems on the nursery with frost damage, and for most people, I wouldn't think it's too much of an issue. So don't worry too much about the frost. Perfectly hardy.
Okay, right, thank you very much. And we've got a question here now on canna. This is from Barry. So, Mark, you are very good on cannas. Should my canna have started growing yet? So it's obviously...
It depends where you are in the country, and it depends where you've got it. We would normally have seen some shoot growth. We are in all the tunnels, but the plants out in the field haven't got going yet. If you dig back, you should see nice fleshy, bright coloured rhizomes ready to go. But these cold nights have just stopped any growth happening. So you should see it imminently.
There's still time then, so don't give up just yet.
Oh no, absolutely don't give up. No, there's plenty of time. It's just been so cold the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Right, okay, that's good. So yeah, I mean, I must admit, I've got one in a pot that's been in a frost-free greenhouse over winter, and it's not showing anything yet. So I'm not worried yet. I'm sure it's gonna come back. So takes a lot to kill a canna, really, doesn't it? They're pretty. Okay, good luck with that one then, Barry, and I'm sure you will see some new shoots of recovery very soon. I sound like a politician now, don't I? Veronica, on Streptocarpus, I've grown several plants from leaf cuttings. Sometimes they have a yellowy, creamy blotch on the leaf. What am I doing wrong? And I want to know what the yellowy, creamy blotch might be, Lynne Dibley. Any ideas?
It depends what stage these plants are at. If they're still the little seedling plants or bigger plants. If they are bigger plants and been grown from last year, the leaf can get yellow at the ends of the plant. It's a natural process for the Streptocarpus where the good growth goes in more or less to the crown of the plant, and the ends of the leaves do die back and they go yellow. And there's actually a line that forms across the leaf called an abscissional layer, and the leaf will drop off. The end bits, the leaf will drop off. Nothing unusual, is just a natural process for the plant. If it's the young little plantlets that are going yellow, it might just be they need some little bit of food. Maybe put them into fresh compost or give them a little weak feed of a high potassium feed. See if that will help them. It all depends the age of the plant, really.
Okay, that's good. So you keep your eye on them, Veronica, and just have a good look at them and see if you think it might just be lack of food. And if there's a bit of food, very often now we're getting longer days and warmer weather, things naturally green up a bit anyway, don't they? So now I didn't make a note what time we started. So does anybody, Lynne, have we got much time left? You're normally the clock watcher. Have we got time for a few more?
I didn't really check, I'm sorry. But I think we've been about 30 minutes now.
Wait, I thought we'd been a bit more, but it doesn't matter. Can we keep going, or do we need to wind it up soon?
No, we can keep going.
Right, okay. Well, this is from Shona Lockhead. Shona has asked for auricular alternatives. Last year, she found an amazing galvanized mini wall-mounted cabinet and decided she wanted to create a homemade, a homage to an auricular theatre. Okay, wonderful, aren't they? This time of the year, on the walls, all those lovely auriculars being displayed. She says, though, the only problem is she doesn't really like auriculars, that she's not the biggest fan of them. So she wants some alternatives to auriculars. So obviously fairly small plants that she can display in her auricular theatre. Now, auriculars are obviously in flower now, but there's no reason why you can't use that stand all through the year. So I think it can be anything that looks good now, but suggestions to move us forward through the year. So anybody got any suggestions for plants to fill the space on an auricular theatre?
Some bulbs be good. Crocus for early, snowdrops.
Yeah.
Maybe violas. They, when they're a bit smaller. Lots of the miniature bulbs, the little iris reticulatas and all the related ones to that.
So that would be starting us off, really. We could be starting with early bulbs, sort of January, February, can't we? So that's going to start the season.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think that's the nice thing about it. You don't want this shelf to look empty for most of the year. You can have something on it 12 months of the year. So good suggestion there from Mark.
Sempervivans would be a really good thing because there's so many different forms of them, and you can just have those. And then, of course, they would go through the winter as well. And you can put your flowering stuff in, take the sempervivans off, and then when you're flowering, you put the sempervivans back up there. And there are some cracking forms of those around. And I said anything that's an alpine and flowering, so a lot of the dianthus would look great. And it's just, but then she needs to get herself a whole mass of outer pots and grow things in small pots that fit into those, so that you cheat and you keep the outer pots there all the time, and you just lift out the plant going over and put in ones that are looking good.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
What I do with my tulips. So my tulips here behind me are in a big plastic container, and I just slot it into my lovely terracottas. And then when these are finished, my next lot of planted up plants are in their same size pot, and they go in, and these go into the garden.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And it means you don't have to have huge amounts of very decorative, expensive pots. You can grow in just ordinary plastic pots and put them in it. Good tip. Any other ideas? Vicky, what about heucheras, are there any dwarf ones that would, because obviously we don't want anything too big, but any dwarf ones with coloured leaves we could use?
There's the little cutie series. We've got they only grow quite small, like 6 to 8 inches across, something like that. And they're evergreen, of course. Again, they all flower, all by the bees. There's like heuchera blondie. You can have peppermint. There's a little one called cocoa. And some of the Tiarellas, Tiarella angel wings isn't that big if it's in the shade, but I can't remember whether you said it was in the shade or not. So, but yeah, you could put quite a lot of the small heucheras in there. Yeah, they're lovely.
Okay.
Something else that would be quite good is some of the herbs, because some of the herbs don't get too big. So you could have thymes in there and various things like that as well.
Okay. Any other suggestions from anybody? Matt,
Yeah,
is there any?
Martin, I would suggest some of the miniature hostas. They look really, really good. Same as one of our group of plants, a pinguicula, which if it's should somewhere with a bit of warmth, they are a bit similar to some of the auriculas, but they'd be well suited to a theatre, as would utricularia as well. They're very small flowering plants, very orchid-like flowers, a range of colours from white through to dark purples. But she would need a little bit of heat for those. But any of the small growing plants, especially the hostas, I think they look fantastic, the miniature hostas.
Okay, good. So I think lots and lots. Is there any more?
I'm sorry, Marty. I was going to say that I've seen it done with Streptocarpus. As long as it's in shade, light but not in the full sun, you can do that with Streptocarpus just in the summertime.
Yeah, and they'll flower and flower and flower as long as you're deadhead, won't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you've got loads and loads of suggestions there for alternatives there. So yeah, have a go with that, Shona, and I'm sure it will look absolutely amazing. And you never know, one day you might get to like auriculas. Right, just looking at my list here. Right, this one is from Francis Wainwright. Oh, just gone off the screen. It was from Francis Wainwright. Why is hormone rooting powder not sold to the public anymore? And do any of the substitutes that you can buy actually work? So the traditional hormone rooting powder that we probably all used over the years isn't available now to amateur gardeners through garden centres. It's been withdrawn. I don't know whether you can still get it in the trade. I don't know whether any of you use it. But do you know why it's gone? And if the alternatives, the organic forms, are any good, and do they actually encourage roots to develop on cuttings? I mean, I would imagine you use rooting powders, do you, Lynn, on the nursery?
Yeah, we do. Especially, well, tend to use it on plants which are prone to rotting off quite quickly. So you'll use it through the winter when it's cooler, but in the summertime we don't tend to use it so much because you've got better conditions. So to a certain extent, if you've got better conditions, get some heat, get some underneath heat. Like Matt was saying before, with a heated propagator or a heat mat, that all helps propagation. So and speeds up the plant cutting rooting. So it negates the need of hormone rooting powder. So doing things like that does help as well.
Okay. Does anybody know why they have been banned?
I think, Martin, I think the one I can think of is Strike, Bio Strike. And if you look at the active ingredient, I'm pretty sure that had captan in it, which has been withdrawn from the market, which was an exceptionally strong fungicide. I think it's the addition of the fungicide is why, but that's just a thought. But Strike was one we always used to use.
Yeah. Anybody else use them, or anybody tried the alternatives? I don't generally use them. When I was an apprentice on a nursery, we didn't use them. We were always taught that if you have the right conditions, a bit of bottom heat, take your cuttings at the right time, prepare them right, they would root. So we didn't use them. But I know lots of people do, and Strike is a popular one. That's the one that had the green spike, the dibber on the top.
That's it, yellow bottom. Yeah.
The problem where some people have gone wrong with them in the past as well is they haven't got a long shelf life, and they need to be kept cool. And I think very often people have bought a little pot of it, taken a few cuttings, then they put it on the greenhouse shelf and don't use it for another year, by which point it's completely ruined because it's got too hot. So I know when I was at college, we were always taught that you keep your hormone rooting powder in the fridge and buy fresh every year. So I haven't used any of the replacements. I think some of them are seaweed based, because I think there is a research that seaweed dips will help to promote roots, but I've got no experience of them, so I can't really say, Francis. So
on the nursery, we never use any rooting hormone at all, as you said, as long as the plants that you're taking your cuttings from are healthy and good condition, and you're taking the cuttings at the right time and you're preparing them correctly, then you shouldn't need any extra. They will get away and take very, very quickly, as long as you're doing it in the right way. And a lot of, especially with herbaceous stuff, take far too long cuttings. You know, you tell them to take a tip cutting 6 inches long. Well, that's not the tip. The tip's the bit at the top, and really they should be really small cuttings. So that's usually the problem, is people take the wrong material to actually do their cuttings with.
Yeah, and do you find that sometimes people don't take enough lower leaf off? So, because the more leaf you leave on a cutting, the more it's losing water and it's not taking any in through the.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we always cut the leaf in half anyway to reduce the surface area. So, you know, the most you can do. I mean, a lot of people come and see our cuttings. You know, some of our cuttings are only literally this. They're about 2 centimeters maximum. So you're talking about the tip plus the next node, and that's it. You don't really need any more. I mean, some things are much longer because the internodal space is longer, but you know, a tip cutting is what it says on the tin. It's the tip.
Yeah. Okay, good. Right. Thank you for all those tips there from all of you. That's good. Right, we'll rattle on. We've got a few more here. This is one for Mark Macdonald here. This is an olive question from Susan. My olive tree has black spots on the leaves. Should I be worried, and what can I do about it?
It'll probably be peacock spot, which is caused by damp winters or lack of feeding if it's in a container. The best way to treat it is with a preventative spray. Just use something like a rose black spot mix and apply that in the winter, and it should deal with it. It's not too late to spray it now. We haven't had new growth yet, so I would spray it, but I would also prune it relatively hard and clear away any of the infected leaves that might have fallen. Give it an extra feed. We use an alpaca feed, loose poo, and it'll boost on. You'll get plenty of new growth this season, and it should grow through it fine.
What about minimum temperatures for them? If anybody's got them outside permanently, you know, in containers, Mark,
yeah,
or even growing in the ground, what will they go down to and reliably bounce back?
People should only have them outside, really. They won't cope well indoors. They need the airflow, and we've found them to be really hardy. Putting a temperature on it is really difficult. We know of plants growing up in Preston, no problem, up in Leeds, even up in Aberdeen. I would say at -14, we're starting to get a bit nervous though.
Okay, right. So, and you can always protect them though with fleece in the winter to keep the wind off them, I suppose, and things like that, can't you? Just to give them that.
You can. The wind isn't such a problem. They've got a very thick, waxy leaf. They actually cope with the wind fine, which is why they're a very good plant for coastal positions. And they'll cope with the salty, strong winds. It's just temperature. As long as they've got good drainage, so the roots don't sit wet. So that's why they suit a container or a raised bed very well. And they're in a sunny position. They should cope absolutely fine outdoors.
Okay, that's good. Right, I think we're almost out of time, so we're just going to have a couple of quickies. So if we can do quick answers. This one is a tree peony question from D. So Alec, this D says, I think I have a tree peony growing in my garden, but I can't really tell as it's not flowered yet. What can I do to make it flower? But also, how can D tell if it's a tree peony or not?
Well, that's really quite straightforward. I've got one here I can show you. If it's a tree peony, it'll have quite a woody stem. It'll be quite hard and woody. If it's a herbaceous peony, it'll be quite soft and floppy. how can you make your tree peony flower? If it's mature enough, 7 or 8 years old, I would say it should be flowering by then. You can give it a bit of a gentle feed, some grow more or something like that. That will help it along. But generally speaking, it's a question of maturity and light. As long as it's got plenty of sunlight, it should flower.
Okay, good. Thank you for that, Matt. A quick one for you. This is from Bob Groves. Nepenthes, which I know you grow a lot of. What is the lowest temperature I can get away with these plants, and will they take a light frost?
None of them will take a light frost. The lowest you can go down is about 10 degrees C, 50 Fahrenheit, and that's for the highland varieties. The lowland varieties, the minimum temperature is about 16 degrees C. So they are proper tropical plants. They would need a heated conservatory or glasshouse.
Okay, right. So
no.
keep warm for there, Bob. So yeah, don't risk frost. And then finally, just a quickie for Vicky. This is about heucheras. They're looking very tatty after the winter. Will they survive, and what can I do to get them growing?
Okay, well, just wait till these frosts have just finished. I know it's a bit later than normal, but really they just want tidying up. Make sure they've not, just give them a tug and make sure they haven't got any bugs or anything there, and just give them a bit of a feed. If you just tidy all the leaves off around, they'll soon grow. When they start growing in the middle, they'll soon start growing and looking gorgeous again. Just make sure they're not waterlogged as well.
Okay, so they will bounce back. Just need a bit of warmth and TLC. Yeah. Lovely. Right, well, that's it. I think we're out of time for this session, our Q&A session this morning on the Virtual Flower Show. So thank you for watching. Thank you for the questions that we've been sent in. We're going to do it again Sunday. So if anybody's got any questions, then please send them in. There will be a link, I'm sure, so that you know how to do this, and we'll answer them again tomorrow. So for now, from me and the rest of the team here, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.